So I want to start this video off with some notes that I wrote down. You are the author of your own mood, vibration, thoughts, and perspective. Failure to recognize and exercise this fact is what causes the relinquishing of one's own essential God power. We love to blame other things for the way that we are, but all we're doing is failing to take initiative, and it's to our own detriment. Seek to vibrate higher and choose your desired perspective. So I'm just getting a bit frustrated as I, poke around the internet at different topics. People just talking about things within society, whether it's how much we're on our phones. This particular comment that you're seeing right now, on the screen right now came from a video where this girl was just talking about society, basically how people are very judgmental, societal programming, how everybody acts like you have to be something or do something and you can't just live a normal life or they're gonna look down on you. Just all of these different normalizations within society that, and within seeing a lot of these videos, right, I'll always just come across somebody that is like this. All right. This society is extremely evil. At the end, and this one is what really got me, this comment here. At the end of the day, week, month, or year, we are animals in some of the worst kind. We love violence or evil. It's in our literature, music, songs, games, sports. There will never be peace on earth. Men hate men, women hate women, women hate men hate women, wives, the husband, the wives, parents, the children, the parents, and the hate goes on. If you don't like life, you know not to have kids, but you are right. People are very cruel and evil, having no compassion for human suffering. You would have to be a fool to bring a child into this bewildering world, especially in poverty. But as they say, there is a fool born every minute. This mindset here is the mindset of somebody I would not want to be friends with. Why? Because the way someone views the world at large tells a lot about how they view themselves, the mindset they hold within themselves, a viewpoint and perspective they have on themselves. So you really got to watch out for people like this, because what essentially, and I get it, it's a lot of things going on right now in society that can bring you to having this kind of viewpoint. And what this shows me is that this person pays a little too much attention is being mind controlled by the narratives that society is putting out currently. That's what this is showing me. And in the Kabbalion, it literally talks about how our minds, what we believe is us, our personality, our identities, the mind that we usually think with, is very impressionable, meaning a lot of the things we believe, we think, can easily be implanted by somebody else's will. So this is why it's so important for you to be mindful of not only the content that you're consuming, but when you're consuming that content, understand that your mind is very impressionable to adopting the beliefs of whatever content you're watching and whatever they're saying to you. When you think like this, you literally you got to ask yourself, like Eric got to ask himself, is this the way that he really wants to see the world? Is this the way he really wants to see himself? And 9 times out of 10, if you ask him if he could desire a perfect world or a perfect way he would want to view the world, it would not be like this. And if it is, well, there's no helping that anyway, because that's what he wants essentially, or that's what he desires. So the way I just started this video and what I said about you are the author of your own mood, vibration, thoughts, and perspective, and your failure to recognize and exercise this fact is what causes the relinquishing of one's own essential God power. And that we love to blame other people for the way that we are and the perspective we have on the world. We just like to fall victim of whatever got implanted into our mind. And I want to tell a story about a few years back in 2023, how I got laced by this girl that I met at my job. I was working at Amazon warehouse, and I met her there. I ended up quitting, but we were still talking for about a month. And then one day in particular, I wanted to link up with her and so we could smoke. I was smoking weed at this time. So we linked up. I didn't have time to go and get my own, my own package that I usually would get, but for some reason I trusted her. Anyways, pull it up, we smoking, and yeah, I felt some crazy effects. And in that moment, I already knew, but I was still like, yeah, it was crazy. All right. It was a crazy experience. Anyways, after that experience, I had lingering effects. It had some lingering effects in my own neural pathways, right? It started making me see the world pretty much kind of how this guy would see the world, and not only that, within myself, I just had so much fear going on. And yeah, the way I was seeing things was screwed. Like my whole mind was getting screwed up and screwed around. Like I was not in a good state of being. I was not in a higher vibrating state of being, right? Filled with more happy thoughts, more happy vibrations. It was all lower things. And this is when I got to the point where I finally realized why certain people end up committing suicide. Now, it's different stages to that. Some people have actual things going on, whatever, but just the mindset that you can get into to how you view in a world that could bring you into that point. And I don't mean for this video to get super deep in that way, but just want to lay everything out that I was experiencing. So it was to the point where some weeks I went past. And at this point, I had stopped smoking weed because it's like when I was smoking weed again, it would just pull up the same feelings I had when I got laced at that time. And it was very bad on my neural pathways, right? And I couldn't enjoy life. It got to the point where I just could not enjoy life. And I was playing 2K24 or whatever had just came out. And I was playing it and I was trying to have a good time. I was playing it, but I couldn't. I just couldn't sit there and have a good time. And so it's like I wasn't enjoying anything. These thoughts, this feeling would just keep coming back up of this sort of dread of life, this sort of fear of life. And it had me paralyzed for a while. And then it got to the point, and this was that same day when I was playing 2K and I realized, dang, I can't even sit and play the game no more. It got to the point where I had to tell myself, through the force of my own willpower, I had to tell my mind that I was going to decide to see the world in the way that I wanted to see it. I was going to decide to go outside. And when I see kids laughing and playing to have a good time, I was going to decide to see the world in the way that I wanted to see it. I was going to see the world through the lens of happiness, through the lens of gratefulness, through the lens of prosperity, through the lens. Then that's the way I was going to see the world, that I was not going to accept the way my mind was. I was not going to adopt the level of sadness that my mind was starting to get into, and the way my neural pathways was getting switched around through that experience of being laced. It literally got to that specific point in that day where I was sitting down and I could not play the game and have a good time, and nothing else. I could not have a good time with nothing else. I'm having these destructive thoughts out of nowhere. It got to that point within that specific day that I went outside and I said, I'm going to see the world the way I decide to see it. I'm not going to let anything control my mind and my perspective on life. I'm going to decide. I'm going to decide to see it in the lens of a higher vibration. I'm going to decide to see it from the lens of somebody that loves life, that loves that sees the beauty in life, that can't wait to live more life. And when I made that decision and I decided to go outside and see the life from that lens and that viewpoint, it literally cured it just like that. I started seeing life good just like that again. And I just read in the book, The Kabbalion, that is essentially what we can do. I used a principle of using higher laws to overcome lower laws. I did it without even knowing that I was doing it. I just used sheer will to take back control of my own mind and switch perspective of which I wanted to see the world. And when you do that, everything is mental. So when you do that, you're literally changing the phenomena of your own universe. You're literally changing your own life, your own reality when you do that. And that is the power that we hold within our own mentalities. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. So when you are somebody like Eric here, where you're deciding to only see the bad, that is what your universe will be filled with. And I'm pretty sure if he had a choice of the way he wanted his universe to look, it would be filled with good and not bad. I understand where you can get all of these viewpoints at, or you can find evidence about what they doing to kids, Epstein, how people treat other people, the lack of love within the world. But at the same time, on the flip side, you can see so much good that is going on within the world. You can derive so much evidence of good on the opposite end. It's all about what you choose to focus on, which is why your power to ignore is very powerful. Don't ignore in a sense of just closing a blind eye to it and not being aware of it. Ignore it in the sense of you don't want that to be your reality. You don't want that to be your universe. Therefore, you are aware of it, but you choose to ignore it because it does not actually matter in a sense, right? Unless you really have to just deal with it head on, straight on, right? Like, we still do want to advocate for making changes and making positive influences. But at the same time, it's important for you to establish your own isolation and your own mentality of the way you see the world, your perspective, and not letting the negativity control part of your own mind, your own mentality. Like, I get it. It's a lot of things going on. But it gets to a point where you got to understand that that's still happening, but ignore it. However you decide to see life is more important than how life actually is. And I would rather for you to see life from the lens of maybe not just whole perfection, but see the good over the bad, right? Put the polarity of your mind, focus on more good than more bad. Like, always advocate to see the good in things over the bad in things. Because that in turn will dominate your own reality, and in turn will dominate your own quality of life. Eric, I'm pretty sure, is not in a good mind state. You can tell by this simple comment that he left on this video. You can tell the mindset that Eric is in. And this is not a friend that you want to have around you. This is not a person that you want to invade your own mental space. How you see the world is all predicated on you. You take control of that. And that will dominate if you living in heaven or hell. It doesn't matter too much what's going on within this physical realm. It does, but to a certain extent, you got to let it go and understand that your mentality is what's creating your reality. We got to stop trying to blame other things. We got to stop trying to blame the things we went through. Yes, they are, to a certain extent, they do play a part within us, but it's up to our control, our own detriment, if we don't choose at a certain point of what perspective we wish to have, we desire to have, and use our own sheer willpower to make sure that we are seeing the world that way, no matter what, and ignoring and choosing to ignore and refuse and deny other viewpoints that's trying to take away our own internal heaven. And through that, we basically want to become mental artists. We want to become mental artists of our own reality, and understanding that we have full power through God's sure will to control our own perspective. This Eric here is not taking control of his own God power to control his perspective. He is not taking the initiative and using the willpower, right, to see the reality in a way as he wished to see it, not from the lens of the things he's been consuming, and not understanding that he only sees reality this way so much, and that's what's dominating his mind, is because he's been consuming content that has been putting impressions on his mentality, his identity, his personality, that is now making him and controlling his mind to see the world this way. He does not have control over his reality. So, quick video, simple. I hope you understand what I'm trying to get out of this. I'm just kind of tired of seeing people in mind states like this, because in my head, they're not choosing to think like this. They're just looking, their mind is being impressioned upon, and they're being mind controlled. I get that there is some evil in this world, just as there is some good in this world. What do you want to pay attention to? What do you want to dominate your reality? And through that is what you pay attention to, what you decide that you want to see when you go out and look at the world, because you create the universe through your own sheer will and mental power and conscious power, what you choose to pay attention to. And let everything else that's happening happen as you choose to still be a force of angelic powers, in a sense of turning bad to good. Everything you touch, everything you should be encountering should be to turn bad into good. So, yeah, I just had to say that, because a lot of us, we really harping on the things that in which we are undesirable in our own reality. Why are we talking so much about the part of society that we do not desire? Not understanding that, harping on that is what is keeping your mentality and your reality rooted within those same mental frameworks. Like, you stay there by constantly thinking about it. It's simple. Whatever you think about, whatever you pay attention to, whatever you talk about becomes your reality. And that's just what it is. Not to say that we can't touch on topics within society, sure. But when we letting ourselves be brought down by it, and you can easily tell when somebody is letting themselves be brought down by it, rather than just opening a thesis about a situation. That is when we get into the point where we are not being masters of our own reality. And that's what we're here to do, is be mental artists and masters of our own reality. I'm going to touch more on this in other videos, but I just really had to tackle this one because I just get so fed up when I'm seeing things like this, when I'm seeing comments like this. And we all need to know how to actually use our minds. We all need to know how to control our own mentals, because through our mentality and our consciousness and way of will, we control our own universes. We got to stop letting other people, other entities, all right, other forms of content impression upon our minds and control our minds, not understanding how impressionable our minds actually are. So be careful. Be careful. Question things rather than just accepting them. Question things. Because when a person is telling you something, when you're watching a video and it seems like they're just telling you something, you don't understand. That is how psychics work. They're telling you what it is that you want to hear. Not to denounce all psychics, but that is essentially how the power of the psychic works. Is that it is thoughts, ideas, beliefs are being impressioned onto your mind. Anyways, I don't want to go into it too much, but anyways, I hope you got what I'm saying out of this video. If you liked it, leave a comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.